The second chapter begins with Papyrus entering Waterfall and getting a phone call from Undyne, who warns him about a murderer who murders everyone in Snowdin, not knowing that this was Papyrus doing, and tells him to meet her in Waterfall to discuss what they're going to do about this murderer, and then hangs up. Papyrus finds out, thanks to the Echo Flowers, that Doggy and Doggyressa are in charge of the evacuation of Waterfall, and makes it his personal mission to find them, to soul leveling them for their EXP. Papyrus also lays down one of Sans ketchup bottles in an attempt to bring all the remaining ketchup bottles back together. Sans is rather confused by this act but doesn't question it. What he does question is the fact that Papyrus can't swim, since swimming results into them leaving Waterfall as fast as possible and go. But Papyrus, who showed in chapter 1 impressive intelligence and IQ feats, a rather lackluster answer of why he can't swim. His answer being that he is a skeleton and not a fish, which is why he can't swim, and offers to take as a compromise the secret entrance behind Sans guard station to go to Hotland. But before they could do that, the reality of their world begin to glitch and Papyrus is suddenly able to see the determination star. Sans explains that the star that they are seeing is called a safe star and helps the child to play with their world as if it were a game. Papyrus is disgusted by this revelation and is determined to stop the human and sets a trap right under the determination star so that they can't save anymore. Papyrus and Sans continue their journey and they are stopped to discuss the logic of why an ice block can sustain its form even after leaving Snowdin. Papyrus makes an extremely scientific explanation that even suppresses Sans, who then asks Papyrus how he learned so much about science stuff. Papyrus answered that Elphys gifted Papyrus a lot of smart books and he learned everything in these books. Sans therefore notes that he would have read Papyrus instead of Fluffy Buff some science book to make him go to sleep, or spent his time discussing their shared interest in science. But Papyrus states that this wouldn't have worked and doesn't explain why. The journey continues and they use an elevator only to see it doesn't work, so Papyrus goes back and uses his blue magic to lift himself and the rocks and ice cube up to use it as a stepping stool to get himself up to the upper village of Waterfall, where Papyrus meets a star or teardrop looking monster that he immediately eliminates with his Gaster Blaster. Even Papyrus was confused with this development and Sans needs to explain that thanks to his immense power boost, thanks to the all gathered EXP, Papyrus grows stronger enough to use a Gaster Blaster. Papyrus uses this power immediately by blasting the two dogs and relish in his newly found power that even Sans is like, man, what a monster, what a madman. Since Papyrus now only cares about killing the captain of the Royal Guard for all their XP and not caring that this captain of the Royal Guard was once his dear friend. He continues his journey, ignoring the Echo Flowers' cry for help and their order to evacuate. But at last, he has the decency to not destroy the houses to get to the monster that lived there, since in his eye it would be rude to destroy a house. A logic Sans found rather illogical, but he can't stop to think about the logic behind it, since they see the human and they were about to confront the human. We get answers of how Papyrus acquired this aquatic and rather stylish drip that he is wearing. You see, this coat that he is wearing came from his closet and only wore it when he was working with rough materials like stone and wood, since sharp fragments fly around when you cut stone and wood up. But after this explanation, a beam of energy results into both Sans and Papyrus falling down. We don't know who shot this beam of energy, but we do know that Papyrus started to aura farm once again by using a wooden bridge as a surfboard and surfs on the water in Waterfall and dodges a lot of stones only to bump into an old lab that both Sans and Papyrus don't know. They find an old tape talking about a mysterious person called Mermaid. But once again, both Papyrus and Sans don't know who this mermaid guy is, so they search the lab only to find a lot of determination just lying around the lab. Papyrus wants to use it to stop the human, but Sans warns him that using this version of determination would result into him melting away. Papyrus and Sans discover the reparation table of the lab and sees a lot of dried up blood. Papyrus believes it's from a human, but since it's old, I would rather assume it's from another human from a long time ago. Sans, who sees Papyrus tense up position, lightens the mood by scaring Papyrus by using tomato juice to create the illusion of blood, leaving a message. When he was asked of how he did that, Sans answered, "Magic, bro." Papyrus ignores this joke and deducts that in this lab they were experimented with determination, and maybe someone in the underground did gain some power from this determination experiment. They are also found out that the experiment was stopped due to not being considered necessary enough to continue going on. They leave the lab and see another determination star, but this time Papyrus decides against the idea to tinker with the star, since he fears that the human would adapt to these traps where Papyrus uses them too often, which results into the human saving over and over again. But he does destroy the item box and then confronts Undyne, who he once shots. Undyne is of course extremely confused, but determined after putting 2 and 2 together, and deducts that Papyrus was the one who killed everyone in Snowdin, and states that she will stop Papyrus' murder spree, and if there's any good in him, he should allow her to kill him. And so, thanks to her determination, she turns into her undying form. The fight is extremely hard, since the energy beam hurt Papyrus extremely and he has now half of his HP. But after a long fought fight, Papyrus eventually does a special attack to finish her off. But right at that moment, he was mortally wounded by Undyne, who believes she killed Papyrus and is extremely sorry for what she had to do, only to be completely shocked to see Sans ghost, who is now enraged and uses Papyrus' determination to bring himself back to life, and uses all of his power to one-shot Undyne with his Gaster Blaster, only to confront a monster and a human and engaging in a fierce fight. In the meantime, Papyrus wakes up and mutters the same words over and over again, these being "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, and I'm killed Undyne, I killed Undyne," not knowing that Sans did this. But after seeing Monster Kid, who saw how he killed Undyne, Papyrus is ready to kill the kid, only to be stopped by Sans, who had some boundaries for his already mad-ridden brother Papyrus, this boundary being we don't kill kids. Papyrus doesn't question why Sans wants him to spare Monster Kid, since in his eyes his brother told him not to do so, and so he decides to stop his killing attempt, showing once again that Sans is ironically Papyrus' morality and anchor to his morality and humanity, or in this case, monstruanity, I don't know. Since the immense determination from all the killing makes Papyrus madder and madder and makes him lose himself. But even in this maddened state, he collects the dust from Undyne and keeps her dust in a jar to remember her and his deed against her. They continue their journey and Papyrus meets the human and tells the human that he found a way to stop the human and make them reset, this being torturing them enough that they are willing to reset the world and do the right thing. He also states that he is now determined enough to see the menu, and he just needs a bit more determination to actually reach the human's menu himself and activate the reset button, meaning he is almost as powerful to actually reset the world. After torturing the human, Sans and Papyrus continue their journey and read the story of Monster Kind, where they discuss the power of the human soul. But then we enter the final scene, where once again Papyrus meets Monster Kid and he summons a Gaster Blaster. Sans jumps in and tries to stop Papyrus, but Papyrus doesn't listen and fires the beam, only to see that Gerson, the shopkeeper, jumps in shell first and blocks Papyrus' Gaster Blaster beam. And so ends the second chapter. How the story will continue, we will only know if the story will continue. But for now, please like and subscribe and watch my first part, or watch my Dusttale Sans video. But for now, I wish you all a bloody good day and goodbye.